Hello, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the baby steps. They're very important because they would build the foundation and they would help you to understand how to work with React in plain JavaScript without the JSX. And actually in this chapter, chapter number 3, we will explore how to add the JSX component because, let's be honest, most of the projects, most of the teams, and most of the React developers, they use JSX when they use React. Why they use JSX? I will explain it in this chapter. It has certain benefits like declarative style. It's very more eloquent and more compact versus writing React in the plain JavaScript. There's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of controversy. When some developers look at JSX for the first time, they think, oh my god, this is like HTML inside of my JavaScript, which is actually not true. Let me demystify it once and for all. When you're writing the JSX in your JavaScript, that's right, it looks like XML, looks like HTML, it has the angle braces, the pointy braces, but actually it's just a special syntax that will be taken by a certain tool. It's called transformer or transpiler. It will be taken by that tool and converted to JavaScript. So actually when you're typing, all you're doing, you are working with React classes, React methods. So actually you're substituting react.createElement, which all of you should be familiar by now. We used it throughout the last 2 chapters. And we're substituting react.createElement, we're substituting that a little bit clunky and cumbersome syntax, let's be honest, with an elegant angle brace. And then we're closing that angle brace. Obviously, we need to close. So that's the whole idea about JSX. There's no mystery, but it's very important and powerful tool. So highly recommend using the JSX, and that's why we are spending the 3rd chapter on installation of the tools. So we need to use some tools to transpiler. We cannot just run JSX in the browser by itself. It needs to be converted. So for that conversion, we would use Babel CLI. CLI stands for command line tool, and use it because it's simpler than setting up the whole build tool with Webpack or Grunt. We will do that at some point later. So for now, just to get you started, but it's also a pretty realistic approach because you would get the compiled files, you would get the JavaScript files which you can deploy. So a little bit about how to set up JSX, how to convert it, about its benefits, and also about certain features. For the most part, we would use just JavaScript with JSX. So that's the benefit of React. We don't need to use a templating language. But there are a few things, for example, if-else conditions, where while we're still using just regular JavaScript, we cannot use traditional if-else in a way that you might use them in just the normal JavaScript code. We might use ternary operations, or we might use some other approaches. Also, outputting variables in JSX, we need the curly braces, and also we're talking about some of the gotchas when working with React. For example, we cannot use class, we need to use class name because it's just JavaScript, like JSX is just JavaScript, right? And class, it's a special keyword, it will create a class for you, so it's not a HTML attribute. So we would need to use class name if we want to create a class attribute, XML attribute. But if some of this concept are just like blowing your head right now, go ahead and read this chapter. If you already know all this stuff, you've been working, you have a build set up, you can skip that obviously. But even if you know that, I still recommend you going through this chapter and reading because maybe you are not familiar with some of the gotchas. So that might be something new to you. Anyway, see you in the next video and meet JSX.